Welcome everybody back to the Low Carb Cruise. We have two of my favorite people. I love watching all of their speeches and stuff because they just make me laugh. They put it into real life situations. And this is Joe and Rachel. You guys are so awesome. I really appreciate you being here and being the MCs. Why don't you tell us how you got started? Because I think your stories on your transformations are super powerful.
Wow. So I kind of have to go back. In 1998, I had a severe debilitating car accident. It put me on crutches for 2 years.
Wow.
I was told I would never walk again. I lost all the blood supply to the bone. After 2 years, I was allowed to walk, but I walked with a severe limp. For over 25 years, I took Vicodin, Oxycontin, and Arthrotek, which is an arthritis medication, every single day to survive. But I'm also a high school football official, lacrosse official, and I was a landscaper. Well, I ballooned up. I've been heavy my whole life, but I really ballooned up after I got married. You know, like I grew up in the age of powdered skim milk. You never ate beef. We only ate chicken, margarine, both for health reasons and financial.
Yeah.
And so when I went off to college, everything I wasn't allowed to eat, because like we made our own tomato sauce, picked our own vegetables, all that. So when I went off to college, I'm like, ooh, ragu, this tastes better. Of course, I didn't know the sugar and all that other stuff. So I gained a lot of weight, and then I would lose, and then I would gain. And then when I got off of crutches, I just ballooned up, because I went from being very active on crutches for 2 years to being very sedentary. And I think my final weight was somewhere around 330. I don't know, because when I saw 296 on a scale in 2016, I never got on a scale again, because if I didn't see 300, it didn't exist.
Didn't happen.
It's just how my mind worked. But when I saw 296, I was like a size 38-40 pant and an extra large shirt. By the time I started keto, I was a size 44-46 and a triple extra large. And that was in 3 months, by the way. I'd gotten into a weight loss bet with some people in church. And the thing is that there was a guy in the church that owned a CrossFit. And if you went to his CrossFit, you only had to pay $50. Well, if you know anything about CrossFit, $50 for CrossFit is like ultra cheap. Well, when 95% of your clientele is only paying $50, you can't really run a CrossFit. So he closed. And so I was like, now what am I going to do? I want to win $1,000. My son was in on this bet. I wanted to
have to
him,
win,
right? And so I was like, what am I going to do? And Danny Vega had actually been attending our church right before that. And he had left, and he left rumblings of keto. And so I went home and I said to Rachel, I want to try this keto thing. And she's like, only if it's not going to cost our family any money, because we were broke. Yeah. And so I said, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, I want you to do it with me so that we can keep a marriage. Because at the time, I'll let her tell you, but she was eating nothing but yogurt and oatmeal every day for 2 years, 500 calories a day.
Yeah.
And so, like, we were going to get divorced if I'm eating burgers and bacon.
And I'm starving myself.
I lost 25 pounds. And it started as a weight loss thing. But what happened is right when I found keto, I had come home from a lacrosse game and realized I could no longer walk anymore. I was up to several painkillers a day to survive. And I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you need an ankle replacement surgery. The problem was, they only last about 10 years. And in addition, this is going to be probably a 2-year recovery. And I'm like, well, how do I survive? I went home, I remember going home to Rachel going, we're going to have to figure out how to live on $2,000 a month, because that's what her church salary was.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep going. I'll keep using my painkillers, get through the season. We'll decide later. Football season came on, and I started doing football season. And now I found keto, just trying to lose weight. And probably about 6 months in, I come home from a set of football games, and the normal routine was I come home, Rachel hands me a painkiller, because I'm going to be on my hands and knees for the next 2 days, crawling around to go to the bathroom. And she goes, let me get you a painkiller. And I'm like, huh? She's like, what? And I'm like, I haven't taken a painkiller in 6 months.
Oh, we just didn't need the medication anymore.
I only took it when I needed it, because I don't like the feeling of a painkiller. But I didn't realize I wasn't taking them. Yeah. And that's when it hit me, something's up with this keto thing. Yeah. It wasn't the weight. I didn't have pain, I had more flexibility. And then I think the real kicker for me was that December, I had made this decision after 7-8 months on keto that, okay, I'm never going to go back to the sugar, but maybe once in a while I'll have some French fries and stuff like that. And so Christmas comes around, and I'm like, we had gotten all of the boys French fries from
Five Guys,
which was like my downfall. They were Cajun fries.
Okay.
So I had some Cajun fries, and I had less than like a half of an eighth of a slice of pie. So you take a pie, cut it in eighth, and I had half of that. So a 16th of a piece. I could not get out of bed for a week.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm never going back. And I've been, keto, carnivore, low carb since then.
Hey everyone, we are on a little safari here in Africa, and I got a little friend right behind me here, eating some grass and some trees. He's not a carnivore, but if you are, it's great to keep your electrolytes up, and especially when you travel, if you keep your electrolytes up, it really helps. I actually personally find I don't go number 2 as often if I don't bring my electrolytes along when I travel. I'll go 2-3 days without, but Element is great for travel. It's easy to pack. We really like it. And if you go to drinkelement.com, oh, watch out, /Keto Maria, you can get a free sample pack with order. So check it out, drinkelement.com /Keto Maria, and get a free sample pack with any order.
So for me, I have been morbidly obese my entire life. I can remember my father even meaning well. I knew he meant well. He loved me. This was love. But for Christmas presents when I was 11 years old was a diet book, because you knew there was a problem, and he didn't know how to handle it. But I've been on a diet almost my entire life. And so by the time Joe is trying keto, I have mopped myself into a calorie restriction corner that I am terrified to come out of.
So why oatmeal and?
I was afraid of all food. I was really afraid of it. I was afraid to enjoy anything. And so I felt like that was the least enjoyable. That's something that you would give to an old person or a baby. And so I thought that I will have the least amount of binging, interaction with. And I was religious about it. It was on my birthday, I was still eating oatmeal. It was just
She figured out how to take a half a cup of dry oatmeal and turn it into 4 cups. Because she would add water and cook it and cook it and cook it and cook it and cook it.
And so I did try keto because I did think that I will be jealous of him while he's enjoying, fat. And I gave it a try, and I didn't lose any weight. So he's pursuing weight loss. Most men, drop the weight pretty quickly. I didn't lose any weight. Of course, I did not make note of the fact that I also didn't gain. I didn't gain any weight. I went from 500 calories a day to 2,500 calories a day of real food, and I didn't gain. But all I noticed was I didn't lose. I was willing to give it another try after we realized that it is helping Joe maintain mobility, and knowing that he is not going to have to spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. Recently, we went to a theme park with our oldest son, and he was just staring at Joe. And I thought, what's wrong with Daddy, baby? And he said, I have never been anywhere on an excursion with my father where he's walked. And so the victory and just being able to stay mobile is amazing. Now for me, I didn't realize once I decided to stay keto just to keep him on it, that it was going to speak into my brain health journey. So my entire life I have struggled with mental illness and been medicated for it, but I didn't realize it was basically inflammation of my brain. It wasn't the case that, I'm bipolar and, I am an anxious person, I am a depressed person. I really thought that some people were lucky enough to not be depressed, and I was just a depressed person. And over the years going to the doctor, that's the banner that they're putting over you, different labels. And no matter what medication they're putting on or how they're upping the dose, nothing is ever getting healed or fixed. It's just one more layer. We're just stair stepping up to it, to the point where, the doctor is advising Joe that, I am going to have to be on some real heavy duty antipsychotics when I am going through menopause because I am a danger. And it really did influence my birth plan. I lived underemployed because if you really truly believe that you are a stick of dynamite and you love your coworkers, you love your family, you don't want to be a danger to anybody, you really change the way that you're going to live your life, because you think that you're a powder keg. And so to find that this way of eating allowed me to deprescribe all medications, be able to leave my house, be able to not just speak one-on-one with people.
You're on stage, man.
I mean, it almost angers you, right? Because you're like, man,
so many years.
I could have lived like this. So the joy that I have is in looking not in the rearview mirror. That's why it's so small, right? The dashboard, the windshield ahead of you is forward. And I really look forward to all of the people I'm going to be meeting along the road that's got their thumb out like, hey, this is a struggle I have with anxiety, depression, and maybe I can save them some years.
And you have become Two Crazy Ketos. Like, I mean, it's really sad that you had to waste so many years and X, but look at you now. Like, you're impacting thousands and thousands of people, right? And you're speaking on stage. You're not only doing that, but you're being the MCs, and I think you draw people in more than any other MC that I've experienced.
Wow.
I've been to many people, from the last 20 years being on stage, and the MCs aren't like you guys. So I always look forward to it when you guys are going to be there. Why don't you tell us, so now that you've transformed your lives, what do you do? Tell other people like what you guys help people do.
Well, I think what is our biggest blessing, and I think people undervalue, is when you see yourself as ordinary. You're thinking, I need to be beautiful. I need to have a certain body. I need to have a whole bunch of degrees after my name. But I think that what makes us relatable is the power of just us being extraordinarily ordinary. We are average Joes. And if it could work for just blue collar people like us, I think it really could work for anybody. And so what we try to do is focus on the sustainability. And so we are going to point to somebody like you and say, hey, don't try to reinvent the wheel. Maria is out there making very, accessible recipes. All you need to do is be consistent about this. Just eat every day. And so you are going to have Thanksgiving, you are going to have Christmas, you are going to have a birthday. Let Maria help you to make that possible. And then we share our own recipes that we come over. It has to be at the very least so easy even Rachel can make it. And that's not like an insult on like women. It's just a case of I'm not a great cook. And so it needs to be super, super easy, God bless you, and quick enough that somebody like me could make it. And then we really focus a lot on community.
Yeah. For us, the eye-opening for us was in 2019. We walked into KetoCon, and when we went into that KetoCon, we noticed that everybody was walking around looking at the ground.
Sure.
And if you've ever been morbidly obese, you a lot of times don't want to make eye contact with people because for fear of judgment, being ashamed of yourself. And we looked at each other and we're like, man, there's something missing here. And I think we didn't know what we were doing. We had like 200 subscribers on our channel, so we were just like uploading whatever we could think of. Right, your first 20 videos on YouTube, they're garbage.
Terrible.
Right, and so I remember we went back and we were watching somebody put a Facebook reel up, and they put a thing up of, look, I'm having lunch with Two Crazy Ketos. Only if you knew KetoCon, this at the time was in Austin, and she was by the very front door when you first walked into the event, and there was a wall all the way on the back where you could like just sit and talk to people. This is on the other side of the convention center. And she's standing at the front door and she's like, I'm having lunch with Two Crazy Ketos, and points to us a football field and a half away. And says, I'm having lunch with them.
We could have actually had lunch together. We didn't need to have like that disconnect. And so we just decided that like if people will be willing to come out and look up, we will be there to greet them, and we really want to do life with them. We want to share, in their adventures, celebrate their wins, and some of our greatest moments of being through YouTube is finding out, like, somebody, we went to Universal, met somebody there that had not been able to fit in a ride for 35 years. So we were like, let us be there, your buddy at the theme park, and we will share that moment together. And I think that has just been such a blessing.
And we want to share that this is sustainable. Like Rachel said, we're two average people, and like with severe food addictions, whatever you want, that are trying anything. And when I remember, people ask us, like, why do you make recipes? Why will you be willing to look at keto products? And I'm like, because it's about sustainability.
Yeah.
And if you would have come to me on day one and said, because there were no keto products at the time, and if you would have come to me and said, you're never having a piece of chocolate again, I would have said peace out.
Yeah.
It wasn't even something I can think about. But then, having things like mug cakes or a lot of your recipes, it made it like, this is, I can still have desserts. It's not going to derail. I can't have 20 of them a day, but it makes it more sustainable. And we wanted to show people that, listen, we have struggled. We have tried everything. We've invented diets.
Yeah.
We literally came up with the yakisoba noodle diet,
right?
Where we ate, because we were broke, we fed 5 people on $3 a day.
Yeah.
And we ate nothing but yakisoba noodles for breakfast, lunch.
Of course, we gained weight.
We tried everything, and then if we could get through that and do this and maintain our health, then anybody can. And that's why people say, like, well, keto is restrictive. I think keto is the least restrictive lifestyle there is.
Yeah.
I don't find any restriction. My weirdest thing, it just reminds me, I would eat carrots, those baby carrots with mustard, because it's like, this is fat free.
Right.
And so that was my diet. Yep. That was my lunch, right? But I know you've been through so many hardships. Do you pinch yourself being like, thank you, God? Like,
yes.
Or like, sometimes I'm like, why did you give me this opportunity? Like, why me?
It is, I do believe that my mess has become my message, really. And keto is not Jesus, all right? I mean, some people, like, they think keto will fix everything,
or
right?
Carnivore, yeah.
Right? Or carnivore is going to fix everything. It's not going to necessarily fix relationships. It's not going to get you through your college exams, right? You're going to be more, maybe the brain fog has lift, but you still have to study for the test, right? But I do think that this has been a tremendous blessing, an avenue that could be used, to provide healing. Like, maybe some people will not be able to avoid the surgery that Joe's been able to avoid, just because they went keto. And you don't have to feel guilty about that or shameful, but there's so many other things and unexpected things that it has spoken into. And we have found for ourselves that really 80% of the difference is made in that nutrition. Changing your nutrition, really fueling your body. And that makes sense. If you're, you may have different things that go wrong on your car, but getting the fuel right, not putting diesel into a regular gas engine, is really going to be the beginning of success. And so we just didn't know that, how much it mattered. And also we didn't realize how poisonous the standard American diet was, and all of the ultra processed food, as you were bringing out, just what percentage of our food now is ultra processed. It's even different than the entire world landscape.
It is crazy. Do you, gosh, where was I gonna go with that? I had a question, shoot. Oh man, I'm gonna have to cut that for a second.
That's okay.
You were saying something, then I started listening to you so much I forgot. Anyway, shoot.
Oh, but finding that it's a blessing to do it.
Yeah, I was going there, and obviously, your past life, you ate a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Do you have any cravings? Like, we have cake staring us in the face here, but we also have steak staring us in the face here. So do you find it hard in situations like this?
I do not find it hard. Again, like, people say, well, it's not sustainable, or, oh, you're going to miss sugar. And again, because of recipes like yours, I don't. Mm-hmm. I live a life and maybe not everybody agrees with this, but I live a life of when I come on a cruise or something like that, and Rachel has fallen in love with cruising, of 90% is good enough. Like at home, I try, you're never going to be perfect because nobody's perfect. But when I'm at home, I try to eat as close to a perfect, lifestyle as we can, very clean, no seed oils, that kind of stuff. But when I come on a cruise, I'm like, listen, I can't control everything. 90% is good enough. If I want something a little sweet, I will bring something that I made at home, or I'll bring something like, the keto brick or something to give myself that little bit of sweetness. But when people say, well, you can't have this, I'm like, but I get to eat bacon and I can eat burgers. And we go to, it's like we sat down at Chop's Steakhouse and I'm ordering like a wedge salad and a double order of bacon and some asparagus, and then, oh, can I have 2 ribeyes? And they're like, no problem. And it's funny, and I love the people who work on Royal Caribbean, but every specialty restaurant we go to, when they're like, okay, something sweet, I'm like, no, thank you. And it's like they're almost offended.
Right.
It's like, no.
Well, yesterday at lunch, they brought you guys ice cream.
And we don't want to offend them and be like, no.
Thank you. I acknowledge that I can behold the beauty of it. We'll go to Disney World and you'll see in the cases this beautiful artwork. But I don't feel like I need to eat a painting. No. I just acknowledge it as like, this is an artistic expression. And for me, I'm a value girl. And so I know when I'm grocery shopping normally that I'm seeing, I want all the salmon and I really want the ribeye, or I want a porterhouse, and we will maybe choose ground beef because it's cheaper. And so I am here and it's like, you can hear the ding, ding, ding as I'm eating like the good meat and I'm eating as much as I want of it.
But this is your attitude. And this is what I say often, like, it is your attitude. If you're like, oh, I can't have a Pop-Tart anymore, I can't have cake anymore, you are going to fail. But if you go like, ooh, I get to have bacon, like you said, ooh, I get to have steak, I get to have chicken wings, I get to have ribs. Like, if you think on the pot, and that's how I was with, being told you can't have your own children, a lot of women curl up and it ruins their relationship. And
sure.
I was like, we're going to adopt children. Like, it was just that decision.
Yeah.
And I never look back on it. But I just think it's your attitude, and you obviously have the good attitude.
And that's where community comes in.
Sure.
Because sometimes, you heard it from a lot of speakers this weekend, fake it till you make it. It takes a little bit to get to that attitude of, well, it's okay if I don't have this, but because I can have this. And that's where community can really help you get that attitude.
Well, and you get tips from the community too. Like for me, I bring Equip, that beef protein.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And I have a stick blender in my suitcase, and I make like this, if you add ice to it, it gets fluffy, like almost ice cream. And I feel like, ooh, I'm eating a whole thing of ice cream, like that much.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad about it at all.
Well, and it's interesting because we're in Alaska, so it's just everything is beautiful.
Yes.
You're like you're having lunch in the Windjammer, and it's like a postcard is going by.
The whales were jumping.
It's funny because it's almost overkill on the beauty. It's almost like the most negative person I meet has to give in and say, well, I did see beautiful things because you're so surrounded with it. Well, we can go home with that attitude and be like, I am able to shift my mindset, whether I'm kicking or screaming about that process or not, if I surround myself with enough beautiful things. So maybe the goal is go home and schedule, hey, I'm going to botanical gardens, or I'm going to visit the butterfly garden, or I'm going to go and see animals. I'm going to pet, a beautiful animal, or I'm going to go fishing. Because in order for me to have that good attitude that's going to help me stick to this, I better like really pack the beauty in so that I feel foolish not taking time to notice the good.
Yeah. And maybe you didn't experience this because I know you're saying your struggles with money and stuff, but like a lot of times we come from this situation where we're eating so many hours out of the day.
Yeah.
Right? And then we go to maybe intermittent fasting and shortened times of eating. What do you fill your time with now?
So true.
Like
so true.
Filling that time, I should talk a little bit louder. Filling that time, it's like you get bored, so you want to go back to eating, or you don't know what to do with it. I had to find a lot of hobbies that I love that I didn't know that I loved to do in the past.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I am a boredom eater. And I have learned this about myself over the last just couple of years, that if I'm doing nothing, if I'm just sitting and watching TV or doing something, I will eat. If I'm just driving around in a car, I want to eat. You will almost always see me with something to drink, because at least it handles that hand to mouth action, especially when I'm driving. But I noticed if I'm keeping myself busy, whether it's editing videos or working on our farm or whatever I'm doing, I don't even think about food. Mm-hmm. So I picked up hobbies, and we have picked up hobbies.
Oh my gosh, you have so many hobbies.
I collect hobbies.
Yes.
My hobby is collecting hobbies.
I love it.
But the hobbies keep my mind occupied. Yeah. And I have done everything from learning how to 3D print. We took up paddleboarding, which
scuba diving.
I didn't think I would ever be able to paddleboard because of my ankle injury, I can't balance as well. Now Rachel picked it up great. But I remember the first time I got up, she had a camera on me. I'm like, please don't film me because I'm going to fall. But I was like, okay, I can get up. I can't handle it in rocky weather because of my ankle, and I can't put it down.
Craig.
But so the amount of things that we just learned to do to occupy the time. At 53 years old, I'll be 55 this year, I became a scuba diving instructor. I mean, I learned how to scuba dive when I was 20, and then it just kind of way away.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness, you love that.
And again, it's like I'm not trying to make a whole lot of money as a scuba diving instructor, although it does help pay for my expensive habit.
I'll pay you.
Yeah.
You know, but the idea was like, oh, I got to study. I got to learn this. I get to go diving. Before we moved out of Fort Lauderdale, I was diving 4 or 5 times a week. So it was just always finding things that the more I would do, the less I thought about food. And then even when I got home from whatever my hobby was, I was too tired to overeat. I would want to eat and get the sleep that I never got before, because I used to only sleep an average of 4 hours a night.
Oh, no wonder.
Well, and you kind of have to think about it. Think about a relationship and the romance of it. You have to work at romance, right? Because you can get into a rut of this is the routine of the things that we do together, and you only have certain activities, and there can be a boredom that sets in. Well, think about the relationship you have with yourself.
Yeah.
And so if you do not make an effort to try new things for yourself, you just fall back into all of your experiences are food. And we, even as a couple, had to learn how to date without it only being food, right? That used to be all of our dating experiences. And so, it doesn't feel familiar because it's not familiar. So don't expect that it's going to be easy. Sometimes you have to push yourself. I like to recommend that people go to a rest stop, like on their highway, and pick up all of the travel pamphlets for their area and just be the tourist in your own backyard and visit those museums. And that's a great place to get started as you are trying to find enthusiasm for doing new things. Socialization is a muscle, just like working out in the gym, and it doesn't just come naturally. We kind of found that in 2020, right? When you were removed from personal, like one-on-one interaction face to face, it was exhausting. It was exhausting to talk to people after 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I'm an introvert at heart, and so is Craig, where I wish maybe one of us would push each other outside of that
That's what
box.
we have. I'm an introvert, she's the extrovert, so she pushes.
Let's go see.
Yeah, it's a balance. How long have you been married?
17 years.
17?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was longer. For us, it's 24.
So we're a second marriage.
Oh, right.
And honestly, that is where Two Crazy Ketos came from.
Oh.
So we realized after losing the weight, people would come to church and they would see, because we were children's directors,
We're
they
like
would
cut
see
in half.
that we've lost all this weight. They would ask us, how did you lose this weight? And you would tell them, and they'd be like, that doesn't work.
And if you're doing it 500 times because there's 500 families, like that's a lot of energy expenditure.
So what happened is we came home from church one Sunday and we realized, like, our oldest at this time was like, I think he was 18, 19 years old. And we started going, when we started dating, every date included children. We never dated or were married without children. And so we started going, the kids are getting older.
Yep.
What are we going to do when they leave?
Do we really like each other?
A lot of couples get divorced
after
when
the kids
their
are raised,
leave because they don't know how to date each other anymore. And we're like Rachel said, this is now a year into keto, and we've lost all this weight, and we realized that before, every single one of the things that we did with each other involved going out to eat in restaurants. I mean, if I told you the binges that we would do, we were eating 20,000 calories on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Each. And so we were like, we better figure out how to date each other or we're doomed. And so that's where I was like, let's start a YouTube channel.
Because we can have conversations.
A joke, but it spawned into helping people. But everything really came into like, where could we help people? How can we? And that's why the motto of this channel, as well as our RV channel, which spawned out of finding a hobby and dating, is you have to live life beyond the couch. That we, for a year and a half, got our health back, but we're still living on a couch.
We didn't change our life.
We never changed our life.
Smaller shirt, same size life.
Yeah, that's great. Is it okay if you talk about your mom for a minute?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yesterday at lunch, you told me how she would eat the sheet cake, but just the frosting. And tell them how she is now.
So my mom was a diabetic for more than 20 years, and my father died of a widowmaker heart attack. They were about to move into the house the next day they were moving, and really the stress of that, you know, these big life events, it was just too much. And so he passed away, and I knew that statistically you lose one, you lose the other. And so I've never tried to push my lifestyle on any other person, but except for that woman. And so I just went to her and I was like, Mommy, I really want you to do this. Yep. And so I think I got her in the morning state. That's what really helped, because she just didn't have enough energy to fight me on it too badly. And so she had just gotten a diagnosis of having to have stents put in her heart because she had blockages that they had found. And so she's like, well, the surgery, they've scheduled it for 2 months from now. And I said, well, we've got 2 months. Yep. What's it going to hurt? Right. Just eat this way. And so the morning of her surgery, they wheel her into the operating room and they wheel her right back in. I mean, she's only been on keto for 2 months. And I said, did we not sign a paper? And the doctor said, no, all of the blockages are gone. We don't need the surgery. So now my mom is like, wow, okay, let's lean into it. And so I said, just keep going. And I would speak about diabetes because you and other people that we had watched had said that this could make a difference. And she's like, but this has been going on too long. I'm too old. She was on 18 different medications. You know, she has like advanced, glaucoma at this point. And she's like, there's no way that this is going to do anything. And I think that some of this pushback was lifestyles that she wanted to maintain. She did, when you talk about a sugar addict, and it was the perfect recipe with Big Pharma, because she would get a sheet cake from Publix and just eat all of the icing off of it. And then it was a race to take the medicine, because doctors would tell you, hey, you don't have to change anything. Cover it up, pop that pill. She was cleaning out a purse recently that she hadn't had in a while and realized there was Fun Dip. Ooh. And that was, her doctor prescribed that. Like, you need to keep that because you never know when the crash is going to happen. Oh. And she's talked about how, boy, I was a danger on the road. I was because again, you really didn't know when the crash was going to happen. And so, but she kept eating keto. 2 more months passed, and I was with her when they had to change her distinction in her medical file that her diabetes was in remission. Wow. And now at 75 years old, she has more energy. She's healthier than she's ever been. Mm-hmm. And
she gets down on the floor with her great granddaughter,
grandkids, and it's such a blessing. And what a different outlook that we have. Yeah. She makes different plans now for her future. And I'm thankful that she doesn't have to just see herself as a grandmother that sits on the couch and bakes you cookies, and that's the only experiences that you have, because that was a lot of the experience
for me.
That I had. It was, I make food for you, and then we sit on the couch together and watch television. Now she's out kayaking.
I love it. Getting
whitewater
the kayak off.
Oh my goodness, yes. My brother had said, you better come get your mother one time, because he was driving past her house and she had turned over 2 construction buckets and was lifting her kayak out of the water onto the bank of a canal by her house. Wow. But, there's this power and I'm happy for her, because she is a very independent woman, and if you don't choose to take accountability for your health, you may not be able to make the decisions you want to for how you end your life. And she does not want doctors and medical staffs to step in and say, hey, you're going to have assisted living whether you want it or not.
Right.
So, working on her dexterity, that grip strength, making sure that she can get onto the ground and then get back up. It's really been a challenge for her. And I'm glad, because we're going to have her for longer.
I love these stories. Those three are like my favorite. I know you have 3 YouTube channels.
Yes,
we'll
we do.
have the links below. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but why don't you tell them what your 3 YouTube channels are?
So we have the Two Crazy Ketos. Then
With Ks.
With Ks. Yes. Everything is 2KK. And we have the Crazy Campers because it's Two Crazy Campers. And that was because that felt like the easiest thing for us to get started moving our bodies was to utilize local parks, county parks. We live in Florida. There's a lot of camping opportunities. So once we started camping, we found that there was a lot of people who had retired and they bought these beautiful RVs and never left the campsite. They were not exploring the area.
Because they were too unhealthy.
They were too unhealthy to enjoy it. It was too hot and it was too laborious for them to walk. And so we thought, well, maybe there'll be some crossover. And we were so thankful. Last year, we were able to participate on a survivor style show called RV Unplugged.
Oh my gosh.
And
I remember that.
It was such a blessing to be able to see ourselves as athletic, to be part of a team. And we really enjoyed that. And thankfully, it allowed us to reach into the camping community and be able to share the way that we eat. And then a lot of people have given it a try within that community as well. And then I'll let you talk about the third one that we've done.
2020 really opened up our eyes to sustainability and the fact that, we have to worry about where does our food come from, especially when we're a mostly meat-based, lifestyle. So we began the hunt to eventually become more self-sustainable, and we started learning about regenerative farming. And then last year we bought a 6.5 acre farm in what I call cattle country of Florida, in Arcadia, Florida, in the effort to become more self-sustainable and run a regenerative farm. And we decided to document the entire journey of 2 city people moving to the country.
Country mice.
It's literally, what was the show, Green Acres?
Oh yeah,
It's
love it.
I'll be Jaja.
But we moved from the city to the country to become more self-sustainable. And right now we're raising, we got about 50 chickens, about 50 turkeys. We're raising eggs, pasture-raised poultry, and then we're going to be moving into sheep and cooney pigs. And it's so we have this channel to document our journey and also talk about self-sustainability. So basically, it's a homesteading channel.
I love it.
And that one's called the Double K Farm.
And we like to get people thinking about reaching out to farmers in their area. Every state has somebody is doing some sort of home farming. So you don't need to buy the farm like we did, but we want to foster that. We really want to have people invest in that, because if we don't invest in that, then in 20 years, who's going to farm anymore?
I don't know what the statistic is, but how many family farms go away within an hour.
Yeah.
It's sad.
It's
Very
so sad. Yeah.
So anyway, we'll have the links below. Two Crazy Ketos. They are rocking it and changing lives. So check it out. And we hope, are you going to come next year?
Oh yeah.
Already
Signed up.
Me too. Join us on the low carb cruise next year, everybody. When I was 16 years old, I was diagnosed with PCOS, acid reflux, depression, and IBS. Instead of taking those prescription drugs, I decided to change my life with food. Yes, food healed me, and it's healed so many of my clients over the past 20 years of working with people. If you are interested in transforming your life, check out KetoMaria.com. I'd be honored to help you.